Commissioner Baki wants change to keep up with demands. Communications Minister to introduce broadband to minimise internet costs. And the Pukpuks final team named.
This is National MTV News with Tokana Hasavi.
Good evening, this is Tuesday's news. It's good to have your company again. Police Commissioner Gary Baki says fundamental changes need to happen in the Royal Papua New Guinea Constabulary to meet the demands of the country. In an interview with MTV News today, he said the police must realise technological shortfalls and be willing to work with stakeholders who have the means to assist in catching criminals. Baki was responding to questions about the series of 9 armed robberies in Lae City this month.
The recent appointment of Gary Baki has come with a tall order. Improve the constabulary, modernise an institution with an old mindset, adapt to new technologies and improve the constabulary's battered image. The Commissioner has also thrown back a challenge at the members of the public: obey the laws. Gary Baki has returned with the understanding that police can't do the job without taking stock of the weaknesses that exist, as well as the abilities of stakeholders who have the means to assist in a big way.
Modern crime has now crept in, and it's a challenge to policing because our methods of policing has not changed. So we need to change.
The Commissioner's comments were in response to questions put to him about the spate of 9 armed robberies in Lae City over the last 5 weeks. Robberies like this one at Pelgins, all caught on security cameras. The police and government don't have the means to capture videos of serious crimes that happen, but many of the businesses affected do. And now it's a matter of getting everyone working towards a common goal. With the mobile phone and the internet, planning crimes has become a lot more easy for criminals, and it's putting pressure on the resources and the methods of policing that have not adapted to the new technologies available. Scott Wide, National MTV News, Lae.
The Angao Hospital Board has appointed a new CEO to take over from Dr. Jim Abrahams, who has been acting in the position since February of last year. Dr. Christopher Kenny-Hurks is a senior healthcare executive from the United States who brings with him an experience from his service in the Middle East and Africa. Angao Chairman David Wissink said Dr. Kenny-Hurks was chosen after an extensive international selection process. Angao has been the subject of controversy over the last 3 years because of its poor service and inability to cope with growing demands of Lae City and Papua New Guinea. The second annual Parliament's Performance Report was launched today at the State Function Room here in Port Moresby. It is an open Parliament project initiated and partnered by Transparency International and the European Union to support Speaker Theo Zurinuok's vision to restore, reform and modernise the Parliament's House and its integrity.
The report covers the period from August 2013 to August 2014 and outlines the functions and processes of Parliament and the work of its members. The project aims to make Parliament more simple and accessible for the public so they can understand their constitutional role in monitoring and influencing the decision-making of government. It will enable MPs to achieve the fundamental goal to build the integrity of the national parliament and enhance its legislative, accountability and representative functions.
We hope this project has contributed its bit for Parliament to play its due role in society. We hope also the project helps greatly to counter the dangerous trend, as the Speaker has said, the dangerous trend for Papua New Guinea's constitutional democracy of a perceived remoteness from its citizens.
In 2012, a MOU was signed between the Speaker's Office, TIPNG, and European Union for TIPNG to build a database of information for Parliament and its members to access through a website, SMS platform, annual report and through the media. Since its launch, the new Parliament website has been receiving hits from all over the world. More than 60% of website visitors are locals, while the rest are from Australia, USA, Indonesia and more.
It has greatly encouraged members of Parliament to share information with the public about themselves and the work they are doing as an elected representative. Also, it enables the general public to have an understanding of the elected representative, including their roles and activities. Further to that, the project has created a platform for the general public to have increased communication with their elected representatives.
The information in the Parliament Performance Report provides an opportunity for members to inform the electorate of their attendance at Parliament sittings, committee meetings and other important meetings. It is hoped that the report will stimulate public interest in the work of the elected representatives and also encourage politicians to provide more information about the work in the Parliament. Vasinata Yama, National EMTV News.
Communications Minister Jimmy Mirintoro says broadband infrastructures will soon be built in the country to minimize the high internet costs charged by internet service providers. Minister Mirintoro says the absence of a broadband has resulted in very high internet costs, creating multiple effects on internet users. He was responding to concerns raised by Nawab MP Kiswat Sinewin during Parliament sitting today.
Sinewin raised this concern following the increase in the demand for internet services in both the government and private sectors. He said the cost of using internet has remained very high and needs the government's intervention to subsidize the costs. Responding to the concerns, Minister Mirintoro says the high cost of internet service is a result of a number of factors. One of the main factors is the increase in demand for online information and limited ISP established in the country.
NICTA, underneath my ministry, we have been looking at the possibility of putting an exchange point in the country, internet exchange point in the country.
Mirintoro says Port Moresby and Lae were identified as the two centers for the construction of this broadband. Takla Gunga, National EMTV News.
People in the remote and rural areas of Bulolo district are privileged to have access to telecommunication technologies. Bulolo MP Sam Basil says bringing telecommunication to the outskirts of Papua New Guinea is like bringing justice to the people. He said this today at Port Moresby's Telecom head office when making payments to Telecom's VSAT dishes.
For the last 20 years, people living in the remote parts of Bulolo district in Morbe province have had no form of communication with the outside world. There was no access to phone communication, radio or even television. Bulolo MP Sam Basil is doing all he can to provide his people access through telecommunication. Today, he presented a check of over 340,000 kina to Telecom Chief Executive Officer Michael Donnelly for Telecom VSAT dishes.
I do also want to urge every member of parliament from the opposition and government to make use of this facility because it has proven a success in the rural areas for communication, banking and TV systems that Kundu 2 and EMTV can be also piggybacked on this system.
Almost 30 VSAT were set up in Bulolo district. This has driven development closer to the people as it feeds EMTV and Kundu 2 signal. It also gives good network coverage of mobile phone and internet. So far, 6 phone lines are connected in different areas of the district. People are also able to use FPOS machines and can listen to shortwave radio stations.
Out of delivering these services to particularly the remote and regional parts of Papua New Guinea, and we see it very much as a part of our mandate as a state-owned entity to be able to provide these services in an efficient and cost-effective way.
Mr. Donnelly said Telecom delivers infrastructure services to PNG through the rolling out of telecommunication technologies and supporting its customers through focusing on customer services. Vasinata Yama, National EMTV News.
The All Search Baton moves closer to home as it tours the islands of love. Also, a review of the fire service department and a pioneer principal pays tribute to the institution he served. Those stories coming up next. Stay with us. Good to have you back with the news. 32 days away from the 2015 Pacific Games, and the all-search Pacific Games baton relay has made its way closer to home. The baton arrived in the Milne Bay province yesterday and was welcomed by provincial administrators upon landing at Gurney Airport. Students, teachers, athletes and business houses flocked the streets of Alata for their chance to be a part of the relay.
Oil Search Ambassador Robert Igara was first to set foot on the tarmac at Gurney Airport, handing the baton to Governor Titus Philemon. Governor Philemon would later pass it on to Province Coordinator Amy Kigolena to proceed with the relay. The baton then travelled the road towards Alatau town, making a stop at the Pikanini Book Club. The baton was received by kids dressed in traditional bilas. Many other school children received UNICEF children's books, which has become the norm at many school visits. Tura took time to have a play with the kids, much to their enjoyment. On entering Alatau town, the baton relay was greeted on the roadside by traditional dancers and was escorted to the waiting line of school students. The town hosted a short but memorable relay involving teachers, the fire service, police, athletes and former medal winners, plus business houses through the main street of town. BSB staff in their colours featured on the streets of Alatau, as did telecom and local businesswomen.
The feeling is just awesome. It's an honor. Welcome to Milne Bay. Welcome to Bayviews. We're carrying it.
Oil Search Representative Robert Igara wrapped up the town relay surrounded by school kids. The Oil Search baton relay continues.
The PNG Fire Service is expecting an organisational review. If the National Executive Council agrees to fund their review proposal, a proper plan will be put in place to revive the entire service. Deputy Chief Fire Officer Bill Rue told EMTV News in Alatau, Milne Bay Province, that the fire service has received minimal assistance from the government, therefore a review will determine the way forward.
The PNG Fire Service remains under pressure with manpower and financial constraints. Many of its current vehicle fleet and equipment dates back to the late 1980s and early 90s. Technology has advanced and firefighters play an important role in preventing fire and rescuing trapped passengers in road accidents. The Deputy Chief Fire Officer says the organization has submitted a proposal to the National Executive Council for a complete review of the fire service in PNG.
There will be a review team, and after the review is being done, that will really give us a clear picture on how much we need to revive the fire service.
Mr. Ru was in Alatau last Friday, officiating at the presentation of a road accident rescue equipment, commonly known as the Jaws of Life. The equipment was bought by the provincial government.
The Minister and I have agreed that together we will co-fund a vehicle, a truck, a new or a second-hand or a vehicle for the fire truck for the Alatau Fire Service.
We don't have very many fires here in Milne Bay, but we have a few vehicle accidents. More than we would like, of course, and I think this will probably use more in terms of rescuing and saving lives in vehicle accidents.
Last year, several buildings in Lae and Mount Hagen went up in flames. Last month, 2 more business houses in Lae lost properties worth millions to fire. The general public has criticized the PNG Fire Service for lateness in attending to fires, but failed to realize the degrading infrastructure and equipment the organization has had to work with. Officer in charge of the Milne Bay Fire Service, Paul Gambud, says both continue to be a major concern.
Manually, we are handling this fire truck. It's an aging vehicle, and I also think that I'm risking my men by going and doing a manual engaging of a PTO pump.
Quinten Alomp, National EMTV News.
Lands Minister Benny Allen says the national government owns all the land on Woodlark Island in Milne Bay Province. That means Woodlark Islanders cannot claim ownership over the land that they have lived on for generations. The land ownership arrangement was done during the colonial period, but the government will allow part of the land to go back to the locals. Aggrieved parties have gone to court over the matter, but now the case was over, Prime Minister Peter O'Neill wants locals to have part of the island. The Lands Department will facilitate the deal.
The Prime Minister has directed us, the department, to find out exactly how much of that land is available that we can give back to the landowners. And we are just trying to work out how we can get that land back and give it back to them. So now the situation is that all the blame now is on Lands Department, not spinning up with the direction from the Prime Minister.
While new infrastructures are being built, Balop Teachers College continues to train teachers with existing dorms and classrooms. The 50-year-old Lutheran College continues to produce a large quota of teachers for the rural parts of the country. Pioneer Principal Fred Stolz says the institute has produced some of PNG's finest teachers since its humble beginnings in 1965.
In the last 50 years, these dorms and classrooms has seen many teachers pass through, while in the last 3 years, new dorms, internet connection and classrooms have been added to effectively train teachers. All this came from foundations set by this man, Pioneer Principal Fred Stolz, an Australian that came to PNG to train teachers in 1965.
When I left, we had about 330 students here in over 2 years. And I think going to the 3 years, as I mentioned, starting now this year, so they'll go 3 years, it will be better. I think that will better prepare.
Much has changed in the institute since 1965. Though slow, new infrastructure continuously added have changed the face of the Teachers Training College. Owned by the Lutheran Church, it receives support from the Morobe provincial government. The European Union has also contributed buildings. This one still under construction.
There are no school fees anymore, so there's been a big surge of enrolments. So that's going to put pressure on. I'm hearing of large classes now, 40, 50 or more in a class.
Government's free education policy has meant increased demands for training more teachers. It has put a strain on resources, not only in Balop but other higher institutions around the country.
The Balop Teachers College turns 50 years old. With it, a colourful history of producing Papua New Guinean teachers for some of the most rural parts of the country. Though Papua New Guinea has had problems in the education system, more government funding has been allocated to improve and build infrastructures as well as produce more teachers. Bethany Harriman, National EMTV News, Ley.
And now we take a look at the finance news. The Kina closed unchanged at $0.3675 in the interbank market. At Bank South Pacific, our Kina was fetching $0.36, $0.4698 Australian dollars, €0.3254 euro and 42.5 Japanese yen. Looking at commodity prices at New York close, gold and cocoa closed the day lower, while coffee and copra closed the day higher. Palm oil closed lower, while crude oil and copper closed the day higher. And finally, on the stock market, the Dow Jones closed at 30 points higher, the ASX closed at 39 points lower, and the All Ordinaries closed at 44 points lower. You're watching National EMTV News Tonight. Parliament addresses the shortage of health workers in rural areas. That story and more local news coming up after the break. Good to have you back with the news. Maprik MP John Simon says the number of health workers in rural communities have decreased and called on the health department to address the shortage. Simon stated that the closure of the nursing colleges due to poor administration and lack of building maintenance over the years is a contributing factor to this. He raised this concern in Parliament today.
Making reference to the health centres in his district, the Maprik MP wants the government to look into sending more health workers to rural communities. He said while the government has invested money into health education, the same focus must be done in sending health workers out to district health centers.
Simple answer to that also. It is not only within the health ministry and the health department, but it also boils down to the provincial governments too. Because a lot of activities right now are all centered within the provincial government system right now. And some of the other main obstacles in the way is to create more positions within the provincial government network to allow for positions to be filled.
The shortage of health workers at district clinics and rural aid posts is also faced in almost all districts around the country. As a result, patients turn up at urban clinics to receive medical help, thus creating burden on the town health centers. When responding to these health concerns, the minister responsible, Michael Malabag, said positions must be created within the district health centers before health officers will be sent to occupy these positions. Malabag said the health department has also gone ahead and recruited doctors from Philippines and Nepal to fill in some of these positions.
There is a shortage. Look, recently the government approved the Human Resources Enhancement Plan, and this is to address the shortage that we have in Papua New Guinea. As for doctors, there's a big cry out for doctors to be stationed in the rural areas. And like the Public Service Minister is saying, their positions have to be located there, so we have to make sure that doctors go on out there. But at the same time, those who graduate each year, it's not, the quota right there is not enough to meet our health needs.
He said the department is again looking at reopening some of the nurses training colleges like Boram in East Sepik and Arawa in the autonomous region of Bougainville. Tekla Gunga, National EMTV News.
The signature of Public Enterprises Minister on the Memorandum of Understanding signed between the state and ExxonMobil PNG Limited on the supply of domestic gas has been questioned by the opposition. The opposition described this as a rush move, adding that the document should have been signed by the Petroleum and Energy Minister. Opposition leader Don Pollia raised the issue in Parliament this morning.
The opposition's first lot of questions directed to the government related to the Memorandum of Understanding signed between the state and ExxonMobil PNG Limited on the supply of domestic gas and development of Payang. The opposition accused the government for allowing the Public Enterprises Minister to sign the document on behalf of the Petroleum and Energy Minister.
Why did the Minister for Public Owned Enterprises and State Investments sign the MOU as Minister for Petroleum and Energy when it is public knowledge that he was never appointed as Minister for Petroleum and Energy at that stage? Mr. Speaker, the final question to Prime Minister is why did the real Minister for Petroleum and Energy sign the MOU? Is there any shady official deal going on?
However, Prime Minister Peter O'Neill defended the government's decision, saying it was in the interest of the nation.
There is no issue about who signs on behalf of government. He has an authority to sign. And also, especially as Minister responsible for National Petroleum Company and all the investments on behalf of the state, he has every right to sign any MOUs that we have undertaken as government.
A disappointed and unsatisfied police still demanded the Prime Minister to also explain the domestic market obligation and why the project was easily accorded to ExxonMobil.
See, I'm asking this question on behalf of the 7 million people of Papua New Guinea. You answer them, not me. Thank you.
Prime Minister said there was no particular provision of domestic market obligation on the current project because there was not enough gas.
Commence as soon as we understand the reserves. There is no confirmation of the gas reserves in P'nyang as yet today.
In a media conference this afternoon, Rabaul MP Dr. Alan Marat said it was illegal for the Public Enterprises Minister to sign such important documents.
I don't see any reason why we should rush the signing of this MOU. And I agree with the opposition leader, what he has said. that we have allowed ourselves, we leaders of Papua New Guinea have allowed ourselves to be manipulated and controlled by foreign investors' interest in big projects like this. Some of us are fed up already.
Fabian Hakelitz, National EMTV News.
The Women in Agriculture Group of East New Britain has pushed for recognition in the province to participate actively in the agriculture sector. In a recent move, the group, together with NARI, launched a book to assist other women farmers understand agriculture business. This comes after concerns were raised on farmers lacking the concept of generating a revenue stream using their garden produce. EMTV's Edwin Fidelis reports.
More than half of PNG's 7 million men and women are subsistence farmers who grow food both to eat and sell. But there are concerns that many farmers still lack basic knowledge on how to generate a steady flow of income using what they produce. In a series of attempts to address these concerns, the leading agriculture institution, NARI, have produced educational materials to help farmers understand this concept. And recently, NARI, in partnership with the East New Britain Women in Agriculture, yet again launched another book. This time, it aimed at assisting women farmers to understand the core of business making that centers around farming and marketing strategies.
Today, this is like a business, this is a book, and me say you me wrote lo come up him kai lo garden, make him good market blow you me, nabia you me salim come back as a team in the family, you me sit down, make him decision lo how about you me broken money.
Agriculture institutions such as NARI have been on the forefront of implementing scientific researches and innovations. They have been concentrating on unlocking potentials in the agriculture sector that serves 80% of PNG's rural population.
Organize yourselves so that there is mass production of food and vegetable that can lead to commercialization in agriculture.
The national government had since continued to pump money into the renewable sector to improve agriculture standard of those who see subsistence farming as a money earner. About 150 million kina from this year's national budget was allocated to the agriculture sector and SME development, but that doesn't include financial support grant coming from overseas donors. Papua New Guinea's agriculture sector contributes about 32% of GDP to the country's economy, and a large portion of this GDP rate is a contribution from ordinary Papua New Guinean subsistence farmers. Edwin Fidelis, National EMTV News, Kokopo.
The increased awareness of cancer allows for more people to better understand cancer and to recognize its signs and symptoms. This was the drive behind the event management team of Kalang Advertising at its biggest morning tea. The cancer awareness was held last Saturday at the Paradise Cinema.
Cancer is increasingly becoming a medical concern in the country, with reports suggesting that 1 in every 10 deaths is caused by cancer. It is with this knowledge that early detection of cancer is crucial in increasing the chances of successful treatment and recognizing possible warning signs for early diagnosis that organizations concerned are taking on the responsibility to create awareness and raise funds to support cancer work in Papua New Guinea.
With cancer now, in terms of the lifestyle choices we make, it's really affecting a lot of our people, and for us to go out and really talk about it a little bit more, I think is really important because all our kids, they need to understand and know because it affects everyone.
One such avenue being the biggest morning tea.
The biggest morning tea, hosted by Kalang Events Management in support of the PNG Cancer Foundation, was held at the Paradise Cinema in Port Moresby in an effort to educate the general public on cancer and to raise funds to support the ongoing initiatives by the Cancer Foundation here in Papua New Guinea.
Kalang Event Management's biggest morning tea was supported by corporate sponsors, which included Stop and Shop, Daytech and Travel Air, amongst others.
We all know that the cancer is one of the growing health issues of any country, and it's our responsibility as an organization to show support that we can make a difference in people's lives.
All funds raised will go towards supporting the work of the PNG Cancer Foundation. Sasha Pesilovo, National EMTV News.
2 new inclusions in the Pukpuks lineup for the games. Also news on cricket and squash. That's coming up next in Trukai Sports.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome to Trukai Sports. And to rugby, the final squad of the Puma Energy Pukpuks Sevens has been announced for the Pacific Games. The only change to the side is the inclusion of Jordan Chichenko and David Airy. There is now an expectation for Hubert Tereha, Butler Morris and Wesley Valley to replicate their combination from the Hong Kong Sevens.
Aim to take on the Pacific Games is no stranger to the rugby fraternity in Papua New Guinea. Although young, they have been intact for the last 18 months and have exceeded expectations. As captain, Hubert Tereha is backing the boys to do exceptionally well, especially after coming off a great performance in Hong Kong.
It's been the 1 month, the last time we came into camp, and from Hong Kong, the last tournament we attended, some good results there, but I think we've got a lot more things to do. And the boys has been pushing it really hard in training, and I think the boys are in good shape, and it's not longer. We've got, I think, 3 to 4 more weeks before the Pacific Games.
Tereha also believes the inclusion of David Airy will bring much needed experience and maturity to the team, while the only debutant, Jordan Chichenko, could bring an element of surprise to the competition.
I'm confident for the boys. They're training well, and they're giving their best in his training.
While the team's performance at the Pacific Games could be easily debatable, with Fiji expected to send their top team and Cook Islands and Samoa to bring tough competition, the boys are backed by a wealth of experience from coach Billy Rapilla and Douglas Geis, who have played in previous games. Lorraine Genia, National EMTV Sports.
Over to cricket, the Papua New Guinea Barramundis will be leaving for Brisbane tomorrow to prepare for the ICC Global T20 Qualifier, the Intercontinental Cup and the World Cricket League Championships. PNG is one of 14 countries competing for 6 spots at the ICC World T20 in India next year. Other countries in their pool are Ireland, Hong Kong, Namibia, Jersey in the USA and Nepal.
Barramundis will also be taking part in the Intercontinental Cup, which is the ICC's premier first-class tournament. PNG will be competing amongst 8 teams in the I-Cup over the next 3 years. In a press conference today, Coach Deepak Patel spoke on the boys' preparations leading up to the tournaments.
I understand that we're going to be probably playing the top countries who are all trying to qualify for the ICC World T20 World Cup. They've been practicing on turf wickets. Unfortunately, all we've done is practice on artificial wickets, and it's not the ideal preparation. So we're a little bit behind the 8 ball, but we've addressed that as a group. We're not going to look at it on a negative. We've tried to focus more on the positives.
Even though lack of training venues has been an issue for cricket and many sporting codes, the boys are focused on the competition.
Playing bigger teams, higher teams to gain that experience to go into the tournament. Teams like Afghanistan, they were playing international countries like Pakistan and them to go into the tournament, so they had more experience and more confidence in them. Well, now currently I see that with the soccer tournament and the previous tournament playing in that higher level and the longer format, like coach has said, the longer format we play, the more experience we gain going into the tournament. So, look, like I said, I'm confident that we are prepared enough. Just have to brush off and we'll be okay in the World Cup qualifiers.
The Barramundis will also be taking part in the World Cricket League Championship. Top teams will qualify for the 2018 ICC Cricket World Cup qualifier.
PNG is one of 8 teams that will be competing in the World Cricket League Championships over the next 3 years. First round will be played against Netherlands, followed by another away series against Nepal later this year. Elijah Lavette, National EMTV Sports.
PNG Squash Juniors Robin Morave and Lynette Vai are currently competing in the Penang Junior Open in Malaysia. The competition began yesterday and ends on the 6th of June. Morave will be competing in the Under-19 Boys Division and Vai in the Under-17 Girls Division. Both juniors are named in the PNG Squash team to the Pacific Games, and the Penang Junior Open is great preparation. Team American Samoa is ready to take on the rest of the Pacific and is vying for the gold medal. In the sport of boxing, American Samoa's only boxer to the Pacific Games, George Tanau Jr., is focused on giving his all in the ring. He will fight in the cruiserweight division.
After battling alcohol and drug problems, Tanoa's unwavering strength should see him be a strong contender amongst other Pacific boxers. George Tanoa Jr. previously fought and defeated 14th Pacific Games gold medalist Petelo Matagi and Henry Tyrrell, who represented Samoa at the 2014 Commonwealth Games in Scotland. Tanoa is currently undefeated and is the #1 ranked middleweight in both Samoas. Tanoa Jr. says that he will definitely do his best in July with the hope of fighting in the 2016 Summer Olympic Games. The American Samoa National Olympic Committee will reportedly send 90 athletes to the Games to compete in 9 sports. The bulk of the group will compete in women's and men's basketball events. President of the American Samoa Basketball Association, Milton Taufasa, has confirmed that American Samoa is ready for the Games. He said that their 2 teams, comprised of 12 players each, are ready to pound the courts for gold. Both the men's and women's teams came 5th in the 2011 Pacific Games in New Caledonia. Taufasa says that American Samoa athletes continue to train constantly and diligently, getting themselves ready physically and mentally to compete against the best athletes in the Oceania region. Sasha Pesilovo, National EMTV Sports.
I'll be back on the other side of the break with more sports news. Stay tuned.
Trukai Sports.
Good to have you back with Trukai Sports. And in Rugby League, competition leaders Rabaul Gurias suffered their first loss of the season, going down to Goroka Lahani's 28 points to 30 at the NSI in Goroka at the weekend. Here in Port Moresby, the Vipers went down narrowly to Lay Snacks Tigers 16 points to 14 at the Murray Barracks Rugby Oval. Meanwhile, underdogs Wagi Tumbe registered their second win of the season in a nail-biting encounter against Hagen Eagles 11 points to 10. In other matches, Hello Wigman beat Simbu Lions 34 to 14 and Enga Mioks went down 14 points to 16 against Mendi Muruks. On that same note, PNG RFL is anticipating more home matches for the Vipers and Issa Pairs at the Murray Barracks Oval. Moving on to NRL, the Sydney City Roosters have shown their strength with a huge 24-2 victory over the Melbourne Storm in Sydney. The Roosters were too strong and dominated possession of the football, seeing them come away with the victory. The Storm were without dynamic leader Billy Slater, who was a late withdrawal from a shoulder complaint.
We are underway on
with Billy Slater missing in the backline, the Storm seemed to struggle as the Roosters controlled play from the middle of the ground. The first points came from a Storm error when Mane Fonua spilled a bomb, the mistake leading to Sean Kenny Dowell crossing the try line.
Goes across to Warburson, a fend and a pass.
The Roosters were in again in the 7th minute when electrifying fullback Roger Tuivasa-Sheck showed his class before giving off a one-handed pass to Daniel Tupou to get the 4-pointer.
Tuivasa-Sheck, they came up quickly. Tuivasa-Sheck, a one-hander out to Daniel Tupou.
The Roosters continued to dominate, but just before half-time, the Storm earned a penalty to post 2 points on the scoreboard.
The NRL coming into this game tonight. He brings it back for 2 points.
Storm were in all sorts of trouble in the second half, and on the 55th minute, Mitchell Orbison scored a great try, extending the Roosters' lead even further.
On the sweep, Orbison going with him, up against Karabetti. Orbison is in.
Kenny Dowell grabbed his second try of the night and brought the score to 24 points to 2 to see the Roosters strut away with the win. The end of round 12 sees the Dragons on the top of the table on 18 points apiece with the Broncos and the Cowboys, while the Sea Eagles drop to the bottom of the ladder on 8 points. Dion Kombang, National EMTV Sports.
That report ends True Kai Sports tonight. I'll be back on the other side of the break with the weather details. Stay tuned.
True Kai Sports. True Kai Sports.
Taking a look at the weather forecast for tonight and tomorrow in southern region, fine weather expected in Daru, Port Moresby, Kerema, Alotau, mostly fine, Popondetta, fine weather. In Momase, all centres to look forward to fine weather. In the New Guinea Islands, all centres, fine weather as well. And lastly, in the Islands region, all centres fine apart from morning fog. Forecast for small ships, but before that there is a strong wind warning current for all coastal waters of southern PNG Indonesian border through Torres Strait, Daru, Kiwai Island, Kerema to Yule Island through to Hood Point to all Milne Bay Islands including Cape Bogle, Finschhafen, Vitia Strait, Siasi Island to Long Island, West New Britain to Manus and its western group of islands. Looking at waters of southern PNG Indonesian border through Torres Strait, Daru to Kiwai Island to Kerema, Yule Island to Hood Point and Samarai Island, seas of 2 meters to 3 meters. And waters of Samarai Island through to Cape Bogle to Finschhafen, eastern and western Milne Bay Islands, Manus and its western group of islands, seas of 1.5 meters to 2.5 meters. And ocean forecast for PNG areas, Coral and Solomon Sea seas rather rough with southeast winds at 20 to 25 knots. Bismarck seas moderate to rather rough with southeast winds at 15 to 34 knots. And lastly, Pacific Ocean seas slight with clockwise winds at 10 to 15 knots. A recap of our top headlines tonight before we go. Commissioner Gary Baki wants change to keep up with demands. Also, Communications Minister to introduce broadband to minimise internet costs. And the Pukpuks final team named. Well, that wraps up the news, sports and weather tonight from the news team. I'm Tokana Hasavi. As always, thanks for your company. You take care and stay safe. Good night.